talking about Robert Frost's poetry with a special reference to his treatment of nature. Now, this is very strange, as he himself said somewhere that I guess I am not a nature poet. I have written only two poems without a human being in them. Now, he has very clearly stated that he has never or he has written only two poems which are exclusively about nature. Otherwise, in all his poems, there is a person and nature. So even critiques and he himself do not want Robert Frost to be linked with the general idea of or with a general group of poets who are called nature poets or who are called romantic poets. But after saying all this, this is also very much clear and very much accepted by people that Robert Frost talks a lot about nature. Maybe in a different connection or maybe in a different way, but he does not stop writing about nature or talking about nature or giving you images which are from nature. So somewhere it becomes quite natural for interpreters of literatures to talk about Robert Frost with reference to his treatment of nature. Now, to begin with, his treatment of nature is very modern and unique. His poems are about human psychology, which is intermingled with his concept of nature. Then he talks about pastures, he talks about plains, he talks about peasants, he talks about natural world. But at the same point of time, all this is interwoven with with psychological struggle of men, and his man who is there is forbearing and sincere, and Frost uses the background of nature, but at the same point of time he does not forget the struggle of human society, and he does not go anywhere far. And he's talking about normal routine activities. His observation is very minute, but at the same point of time he observes simple aspects of nature, and all these aspects of nature or all these observations or his images from nature, they are presented in a beautiful poetic diction, and his versification and his technique of writing poetry is very remarkable. But at the same point of time, he may indulge in writing nature poetry. He is not a mystique nor a romantic. He is not a mystique like Wordsworth. He's not romantic like Wordsworth, or he's not sensuous like Keats, or he's not abstract like Shelley. But at the same point of time, he uses nature as a symbol, as a metaphor. He's not telling you any story, or he's not very impulsive, or he has he does not use nature as something as a powerful agent, or which has driven him to write something or think about something or bring about some social reform. It's not like this with him. He is in a way very subtle. He would talk about nature, and we would somewhere feel that his approach is traditional, but at the same point of time there would be opposite beliefs, there would be contradictions, and there would somewhere we would find that out of those beliefs is quite skeptical also. So Robert Frost is partially pessimistic. He's talking about winter or cold. He's talking about the chilling sensation of nature. He's talking about nature as a very kind agent, or sometimes he's talking about nature who is punishing human beings. But all these things are not as direct as they are in Wordsworth. And critics like Eras and all, they do not call Robert Frost a nature poet, and they think that Robert Frost is more of a humanistic writer, or he's into psychological or into symbolic poetry. But at the same point of time, most of the people who are reading Robert Frost, or most of the critics who are evaluating Robert Frost, they cannot ignore that he is talking about nature, about the bright sides of nature, the dark sides of nature, the various forces of nature. Uh, then in his poems we can say that there is a subjectivity and there is an objectivity too. Even those famous lines in Stopping by Woods on a snowy evening, the woods, he says, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So these lines somewhere are telling you that he has objective as well as subjective view of nature, and they are at the same point of time depicting the charm and hypnotic qualities of nature. And but at the same point of time they are talking about a man, they are talking about human being who is helpless, who does not have time to see them, or who cannot stop because he has social commitments. So Frost creates an affinity between man and nature through interlinking activities, and these interlinking activities are there on pastures, there on fields, there is a snow spread, there are birches to look at, there are mountains, there are apples which are loaded and unloaded, and then there is a frost which is coming, and there are rivers, there are woods, there are orchards, their gardens, their birds. So all these activities are connected activities between they are conjunctions between human beings and nature, and they employ human beings to the earth, like mending walls or picking apples or removing snows or farming. Nature is a constant companion of man. Freud's attitude to nature is scientific and realistic. Unlike Wordsworth, he has not any philosophy about nature. Nature is not a god exactly. There are no powerful overflow of emotions, exalted moments, or romantic escapes, or chasm, or mystic experiences leading to social reforms. But there is, of course, a juxtaposition of philosophy and objectivity in his poem. And when he says, loaded with ice, a sunny winter morning, or if he says, and life is too much like a pathless wood, or when he says, the world of hoary grass, then somewhere we would say that it is subjectivity as well as objectivity. It is philosophy as well as an objective factual observation. Though Frost is contemplating, he is not preaching. He is he's giving you ideas about wisdom, but is not spiritual at the same point of time. And then he is presenting you visual beauty, but at the same point of time he is giving you some social or deep messages. This dialectics is very much present all time. So this dialectics of his mind and dialectics of the outer world, the cover which he employs, the cover of nature, the beautiful cover of nature which he employs to write his poems or to convey his beautiful ideas, he needs a beautiful cover, and that beautiful cover is nature. He uses the cover of nature, and sometimes the cover becomes the form itself, the cover becomes the content itself. Thank you.